So the story opens up to a baby being held by a blue-looking monster, which has just deleted several policemen. It raises its arm and is about to push through the baby when suddenly we see a splash of red. Its arm has been cut off by a teenage-looking guy with his bare hands. The monster goes berserk after realizing its right hand is missing. It flings the child away and rushes towards the blonde teen. After a short battle, the teen defeats the monster and gets applauded by the crowd of people around. He looks around and shoots off into the night, leaving the crowd behind. Right off the bat, I want to say that I'm not really feeling this art for real. And if this dude is the MC, I'm about to drop this manhwa real quick, bruh. But I have to say, this is the only manhwa I've read in a while that its nose art actually looks like real life noses. Apparently, the dude that previously defeated the monster is called the White Cap Superhuman because of his costume. So two students are in a classroom watching the video of the White Cap Superhuman defeating the monster while the lecture is ongoing. And in the middle of it, an alert goes off and everyone starts to panic. I think I see the MC, Kang. He's the only one calmly resting with his head down on the table, lol. Bruh, these proportions got me tight for real. How is his hand and the phone almost as big as his head? Anyway, after everyone exits the classroom, he inconspicuously slips out and changes to his superhuman costume. The monster causing the havoc is the same type of monster as the last one. Seems like that's the only variant of monsters in this world. At the Inon Port, as people are going about their business, an inhuman emerges out of the water, causing the scene to explode. One worker tries to deal with it by ramming it with a truck, but that turns out to be useless as the inhuman doesn't even get a scratch on it. The worker gets a foreboding feeling as he sees the inhuman unhurt, and that feeling turns out to be a reality as the inhuman turns towards him and crushes the truck with one hit. By the side, two sweaty workers are shaking in fear as they hide behind a container. One is even breaking down in tears while the other is trying to keep him calm so they can safely waddle through the crisis. Unknown to them, the inhuman appears above them, peering at them from the top of the container, and as the crying worker looks up, he freezes in shock at the face in front of him. Meanwhile, Kang has just changed into his costume and is on his way to the port. His friend, Juri, is giving him directions through his earpiece as he rushes forward at his fastest speed. At the port, the second worker finally notices the inhuman above their heads and lets out a curse, which is responded to with a punch to the face by the inhuman. He hits the opposite container and his body goes limp with liquid dripping down his face. The sniffling worker freezes up and is hyperventilating, but is quickly smashed headfirst into the container he was hiding behind. The inhuman's attention is drawn to the third worker on its right that is fleeing, and it jumps towards him, shaking the surrounding area. It grabs him by his hard hat and flings him to the right, where he smashes into two stacked containers. As the worker tries to get up, he is faced with the inhuman and realizes the magnitude of the situation. The inhuman's hand approaches his face and is about to touch him when a spanner hits it on the back of the head. It turns around and sees a bigger worker holding a tool and telling it to stop while cursing. Meanwhile, Kang is quickly closing in on the location. He's already about halfway there. As the worker thinks he's about to be deleted, the monster turns away from both of them and starts walking off. They are perplexed and wondering what's happening when it grasps a container and flings it towards the bigger worker. The container fills up his vision and is getting closer and closer by the second, and just as it's about to smash into him, Kang arrives and kicks it out of the way, saving him. As Kang stands before him, confronting the inhuman, he tries to communicate with it to see if he can discover its objective or where it comes from. In response, the inhuman goes berserk and attacks him, slamming him into a white container. By the way, why does it look like a diva? As the fight is ongoing, a reporter arrives at the scene in a helicopter, covering the battle from a distance and sending the footage to the world. Seems like all the news networks are interconnected all around the globe, and the Inhuman Subjugation Special Task Force, ISSTF, also arrives and is stationed at a distance away in preparation to combat the monster in case of Whitecap's defeat. As the battle continues, Kang realizes that the Inhuman is much faster than he thought and he is in a precarious situation. And soon after, he gets caught by the ankle and slammed through several containers. The ISSTF close by notices this and calls their plan B. A human with some mecha parts flips out of the fan and shoots a bullet, securing a headshot against the Inhuman. Unfortunately, that isn't enough to take down the Inhuman. As the monster approaches them, a barrage of bullets are fired off, but just bounce off the Inhuman's skin. Just as the Inhuman is about to reach them, they start to hear a few sounds. They all turn towards the sound and see Kang coming out of the container, completely unhurt. This time, since Kang has tried and seen that the Inhuman can't be communicated with, He decides to go all out and crush it with all his strength. The battle ends pretty fast as Kang grabs it by the mouth and slams it down, head first, causing a mini earthquake. As the battle comes to an end, a suspicious looking guy clad in a black hat and clothes drops down behind Kang and strikes up a conversation. It turns out he is also a superhuman and has been watching Kang for a long time, even stalking his friend. After a few words are exchanged, Kang ignores him and heads off, thinking of what to eat when the black hat superhuman reveals Kang's identity as a student and even asks if his pink-haired friend is listening. And that's when Kang snaps and throws a punch, which Black Hat blocks seemingly easily. As Kang realizes that his first punch was blocked, he swings another and discovers that Black Hat had disappeared from his view and appeared on his hand. The fight diffuses as they wouldn't want to engage in a full-blown battle that will cause the destruction of the city. So they exchange names and we get to find out the Black Hat superhuman's name, which is Nangi. As Nangi and his partner, Danyang, leave, Danyang asks if Nangi's hand is alright. Turns out he had been posturing as if it didn't faze him when his wrists were red and almost at breaking point. After they leave, superhumans all around the world start to speculate on why they almost got into a battle. As Kang also leaves the scene, the ISSTF starts to clear up and recover the monster's corpse. Meanwhile, the commander of the ISSTF gets a call, and at the other end of the line is a mysterious man who asks for the body of the Inhuman to be sent to him and doesn't even ask about or care about the fatalities involved in it. After he ends the call, the mysterious man steps into a stage where a large crowd of people are cheering for him and calling him the hope of the new generation. His name is Marcus Gerald, and he is the forerunner of a peaceful world and a revolutionary future. He seems like a bad guy to me, to be honest. Back to the port, the Inhuman's body is being transported to an unidentified organization with a helicopter, and the scene falls into the eyes of Nangi and Danyang, who hadn't really left. Already past chapter 4 and I'm curious as to how Inhumans and Superhumans came to be. How did they get their powers or where did they come from? And it was said that Kang never missed an alert about rampaging Inhumans, so that means he must have missed some classes at some point, right? Wouldn't that almost give him away, his identity? Just finished with chapter 5 and it's giving me Terror Man vibe, like it might give glimpses of some dark realities of the world. Yo, just finished watching this fight. This Ketchup Man is crazy, man. My guy is like Batman's stepbrother or something. He asks the henchman to tell him where the main villain's base is while choking him out. Like, how do you want him to reply? And even after clobbering him, he said he would let him go to send a message back to the villain, Sherlock, but just kept on clobbering because he changed his mind. By the way, Ketchup Man is the main character of the hit superhero TV show, The Unyielding Ketchup Man, and Kang is his super fan. You can see that when Black Hat said he was kinda like Ketchup Man and he became abashed. In chapter 7, they give a rundown of the current situation. It turns out there have been 7 cases of Inhumans appearing in Korea, and the most powerful, the Heptahon, later changed to Heptarian, was driven away by a long-haired superhuman, or so the media said. And that's when the disaster alert was created. Different alert levels assigned, and the ISSTF, a special squad within the military, was established. So one of these monsters, or Inhumans, has attacked a small fishing boat in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and just before total destruction, a crew member got the news of his appearance out. A much larger cruise ship receives the signal and rushes forward to assist, but goes silent soon after. A small scuffle ensues in Kang's school, and we're introduced to the 3 heads of the Gongdu gang, Choi Tae, Nam Gung Mu, aka Radish Head, and Gondu, the leader. On the other side of the world, the US Agency for Superhumans has received the news and sent 2 superhumans to neutralize the Inhuman. On arrival, they find the whole cruise ship dark and painted red. The heroes decide to separate to cover more ground, one from above and one from below. The hero that goes below is a woman with blonde hair that has the power of super strength, I think. She really looks like the female version of All Might. On her search, she discovers some people in hiding and makes sure of their safety, and heads up immediately after to the upper floors in search of the Inhuman, closing in on the other hero's location. The other hero is a man with what I think is a crystallization ability. He can turn liquids to solids and not by freezing. In his words, they become as hard as diamonds. So the male hero, Withrow, while looking for the monster, finds the female hero standing in a dark corner. She approaches and quickly morphs into an Inhuman. So quick, Withrow only registered it after his right arm had been bitten off. He quickly distances himself and wraps up his injury, then a fierce fight begins. The Inhuman is much faster than he thought, even dodging his sure kill move. At this point, he pours some wine down his arm and crystallizes it, engaging the Inhuman in close combat. They enter a room and he kicks off the sprinkler, sparking off a water shower on the Inhuman, which he then crystallizes to form a kind of terrifying snowman. From the flashback, we know that the crystallization lasts for roughly about an hour. He thinks about how to finish it off, but his thoughts are rapidly cut short, and as his vision goes dark, he sees a very terrifying image in his sight. There was a second Inhuman lurking behind him the whole time. The female hero, on arrival, sees the horrifying image and loses her cool. She shoots off towards the insect-looking Inhuman, beginning a ruthless battle. I have to say, from the stance, it doesn't look like much force can be generated for the punch, but maybe the superhuman ability makes up for that. Anyway, while she is pummeling the insect-like Inhuman and is about to finish it off, the crystallization of the first Inhuman, the lizard-like one, comes undone. The insect-like Inhuman on its last legs spits out some webs from its stomach and traps the female hero. As she is confused, thinking of why it would do that when it's about to be deleted, the other Inhuman's jaw clamps down on her left shoulder. She brushes it off her shoulder and throws it in front of her towards the other one and then tells them to beg for forgiveness when they meet her teammate. I don't know if that's implying that they will go to heaven or that her teammate went to hell. She then punches towards them, letting off a bright light which even bursts a hole through the ship. So it turns out she doesn't just have super strength, her body is also indescribably hard, and she can let off some light-packed punches, if you can call it that. As the scene wraps up and the cruise ship comes into the harbor, they find out that Waitrose body is missing. They convene a meeting and decide on what to do about it. Anyway, after the discovery of the disappearance of Waitrose's body, an investigation of the scene is carried out and they get some blurry images of the perpetrator. A guy in a hat looking like that one Bleach character, Kisuke Urahara. Back in Korea, there's an arm wrestling competition ongoing, and Kang's friend signs him up for it, just for the prize money. But after easily defeating all his opponents, Kang is goaded into donating it all to charity. And even his trophy is snatched by an ordinary looking old man who was with Kang's competition in the finals. The old man didn't just leave after taking the trophy, but also gave them his address at the top of Yongpo Mountain. As the arm wrestling event wraps up, a blaring alarm enters the ears of the surrounding people. An Inhuman has just invaded the Inon Port. Kang, who was at the airport waiting for Ketchup Man, grabs his mask quickly from Jori with a random white cap from a crowd and rushes towards the runway. Meanwhile, Ketchup Man has just arrived in Inon Port for his meet and greet and his plane is just about to land when the figure of an Inhuman appears in the pilot's eyes. It bolts towards the plane and jumps, colliding with the left wing of the plane. After a rough emergency landing, as the Inhuman is about to destroy the plane, Kang arrives and a battle explodes. As Kang is beating up the Inhuman, it spits out numerous eggs that hatch to be its clones, which start to terrorize the entire port and plane. Anyway, Kang's friend Jori is almost fatally injured but is saved by the ISS-TF agent B. Meanwhile, Kang is knocked out while rushing to save Jori. As the Inhuman's clones invades the plane, Ketchup Man reveals his real identity as a superhuman, bringing an end to his acting career. Also in Chapter 6, we got Kang achieving Ultra Instinct before GTA 6. He and Ketchup Man are about to finish off the Inhuman, the main Inhuman, when a talking Inhuman with white hair and pink skin, wearing a red cape, arrives and saves it. Kang, in his unconscious Ultra Instinct state, attacks the white-haired Inhuman but is stopped by Ketchup Man who knocks him out. After the Inhuman leaves, the scene cuts to a team of researchers in a submarine who have just discovered what they refer to as Pandora's Box. At a remote location in Russia, two superhumans enter a church and see some ghouls approaching. After dealing with them, they find a bat-like Inhuman upside down with its wing covering its body. As it gets down, a fierce battle starts off. It seems the superhumans are getting overpowered, but as the bigger superhuman with pink hair, Basilov, keeps getting hit, he keeps reducing in size and keeps getting more and more powerful. His special ability is digestion progression. The more he gets beat up, the faster the fat in his body is digested and turned into raw power. As he gets in close combat with the Inhuman, the second superhuman, Kirillov, starts releasing his powers. By the time the Inhuman noticed, it had already been gravely injured. His ability is somewhat special as it can be invisible sometimes. It turns out he can paint objects into reality and use them. After a tiring fight, they defeat the Inhuman and leave. In Korea, some time passes by, Juri gets better and Kang remembers the old man at the arm wrestling competition. He remembers that even he couldn't keep up with his speed in a short while, so after some thinking, he and his pink-haired friend Juri start the long trek up the mountain in search of the old man's martial academy. They finally reach the top of the mountain and meet the old man, Obangwon, and he starts to help Kang find himself. Oh, by the way, there's been a series of unsolved deletions in Ireland, and the new superhuman. Well, I don't know if she's new, but she just revealed herself to be a superhuman. She's called Jane. Anyway, she draws St. Pearl's attention to the events, and with the disappearance of her superhuman friend, Sui, she and Pearl start working together to solve the case. They think that it's somehow related to the disappearance of Waitro's body. The scene cuts to a bar, should be in Scotland or around there. A server working there turns out to be the guy behind the whole incident. His name is Dave, and he's also the one who stole Waitro's body. It seems like his superhuman ability deals with souls. He can give new life or something of the sort to people by using deleted people, but will have them under his thrall from then on. Anyway, Withrow breaks the connection with him and escapes, and his fight with an Inhuman draws attention to the scene, and both St. Pearl and Jane Sonata arrive. After a brief fight with Dave and his Nomu, Sui, the missing superhuman, arrives with a little girl hostage. The little girl works with Dave and is a crucial part of his plans. So after some deliberation, because they want to wreck the city further and kill more people in the process, they exchange her for Withrow and they both retreat. Finally, in chapter 62, page 25, Kang finally looks cool. St. Pearl, Jane Sonata, Sui, and the others gather in the middle room for a briefing, basically to discuss the current matters, and Sui reveals the fruits of her investigation. While in hiding, she had discovered a core secret. The little girl that works with Dave has the power of prophecy, and she had just given one about Kang in Korea. Hey, been waiting for this, we finally got the All Might reference. Lol, Sloppy, the author, really likes this sentimental style, like anytime something crucial is about to happen, he will give flashbacks of the person's past or childhood, like in the case of St. Pearl's discovery of Waitro's deletion, and even when Gondu was about to be folded by an Inhuman. I'm not mad about it though. Anyway, the single most spectacular fight is going down in Korea. The organized Inhumans set out to delete Kang. They got his location to be on Yongpo Mountain through their investigation, and they pulled up there while he and Gramps, the master of the dojo, were at his school. As Kang and Gramps heard the alarm for the attack, they quickly headed for Yongpo Mountain at their top speed, but before they could reach there, a call came in for Gramps. His top student was informing him that there was no need to come there. The Inhumans had already destroyed the place and deleted several people without finding Kang, so they transported to Kang's school to continue the search. So midway to Yongpo Mountain, they had to turn back and return to his school, where they see numerous Inhumans littered around, terrorizing students. Gramps holds off the stronger ones outside, while Kang begins clearing the clones that were inside wreaking havoc. In the fight, Kang's identity is revealed to the world because he didn't have time to put on his costume. Yeah, I know it's just a hat and an eye mask, but he still didn't have time to put them on. St. Pearl and Jane Sonata are on their way to Korea to help Kang. They had received the news of the attack way before it happened, so they were rushing to him. But on the way there, they are blocked by an overwhelmingly powerful Inhuman right in the middle of the sea, and a great battle erupts. So back to Korea, a few people pulled up to help Kang, the black hat Inhuman who previously exchanged blows with him and his partner, and the two guys from Russia with powers of rapid digestion, digestion, progression, and painting. Ivan and his lackey are also at a distance away observing the battle. They came to get Kang's body after he defeated as in the prophecy. Obviously, it doesn't go how he expected. Kang is much stronger than they all realized. He unleashes his power and even defeats the stronger monsters that show up later, that give even Dave and Black Hat pressure. But in the midst of it, he loses control of his powers and is about to go on a rampage, till Jori shows up and diffuses the situation and Kang loses consciousness. Unfortunately, things don't end there as Dave arrives and asks for Kang's body. The pink-haired boy, Jori, refuses, and the other superhumans also aren't going to let that happen. So Dave summons all his lackeys, and that's when the two superhumans from Russia, Basilov and Kirillov, drop in, and the second battle erupts. As he sees that he's at a disadvantage, Dave retreats with his lackeys, and the battle comes to an end with the superhumans exchanging contact information. So I'm currently at the end of the first season. The results of the popularity contest are out and you won't believe who's in first place. I'll give you a few superhumans names and you'll arrange your top 5 in the way you think they are ranked in terms of popularity. Saint Pearl, Withrow, Lim Kang, O Bangwon, Maxim Basilov, Kirillov, Jane Sonata, Sui, Matt Dion, Ketchupman, Nangi, Dan Yang, and Dave. Okay, so for the rating, the art actually progressively gets better. At first sight, it threw me off. I thought all the monsters would be the same blue looking blobs, but newer, stronger varieties of monsters are being introduced bit by bit. It turns out they were in the process of evolution or something like that. So after some time, it didn't really matter anymore. So I'll give it 3.5 stars. The story is really good. You know, the author has a particular vision of an end for the story and tries to keep it within the confines of reality as much as possible. It makes you think it can actually happen in reality. Plus, it includes real life locations on the earth as well. It gets 5 stars. As for the character, Kang really doesn't know what he wants. He hasn't really discovered himself yet, so he needs to take half of the assets to go and find himself. Just kidding. Compared to the beginning, Kang now has a goal after training with Gramps, or Bangwon, which is to protect his loved ones and save people, which is considerable growth since his debut. And he's showing signs of growing even more, just like when he thanked and hugged his teacher after getting expelled from school. By the way, the other characters also have depth to them, from the misunderstood Gondu, to the guys at the Martial Academy, and to the self-sacrificing class teacher. It really combines together spectacularly. And the superhuman's abilities are really diverse and astoundingly creative, not like the normal generic water or fire superpowers. Well, there is lightning, but you get my point. I'll give it 4.5 stars. To be honest, I wanted to quit at chapter 3. Like immediately I started reading, the art got me tight. But as I kept reading, I kept getting more and more engrossed, and now I'm looking forward to every new chapter, especially at and post the Korea battle arc. I give the engagement 5 stars. And lastly, for the relation with the genre/theme, the tags are action, fantasy, school life, shonen, supernatural, webtoon, and manhwa. It is all that it says it is. Right from the first chapter, it's straight action. In fact, it's more action than story in the first few chapters. To be honest, I was confused at first at whether to call it a manhwa or a webtoon, because it kept feeling like a webtoon, but I noticed it had Korean symbols and syllables, which normally indicate that it's a manhwa. So is it possible for it to be both a webtoon and a manhwa at the same time? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Anyway, it gets 5 stars. So the final rating for the manhwa Superhuman Era is 4.6 gold stars. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one. We out of here.